Good evening. We are in week 17, episode 30. I am joined by Tommy from Backsportspage. Tommy, welcome back.
Good to be back. Glad to join you here. It's going to be a good week. Good wrestling week for all of us, I'd say.
A lot of wrestling coming up. A lot of wrestling to talk about. But first, let's hit a little bit of music.
Agility from the champion. Oh, deep six! That could be it. Delivers this deep six.
Good evening, Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast fans. Thank you for joining. Hope you guys are all doing well. We are on the road to SummerSlam. Just had our go-home show for Monday Night Raw 2 nights ago. Our go-home show for NXT literally just ended about 5 minutes ago.
Was a good one.
Tommy, are you excited?
I didn't think I'd be as excited for this show. And then NXT did it again. I think that's one of the things that they do so well is the go-home show. They can really sell what's coming up. We can talk about the video package with Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. There's some great matches that took place tonight. I will say I'm definitely more excited for the show than I was coming off of last week.
Oh, absolutely. I am ready to go. I'm very excited. Somehow WWE has got me invested in all the next couple shows coming up, which we'll talk about. But so you know what? Let's hit up the NXT go home show first, and then we'll segue into the takeover and SummerSlam predictions following that. But let's jump right in. The show starts right away with Johnny Gargano versus Rich Holland. I believe, Tommy, you and we talked about Rich Holland the last time we did a show. I think that was his debut, if I'm not mistaken. Good presentation of Rich Holland tonight. Obviously, we knew Rich Holland was taking the loss. Johnny Gargano. You weren't going to give him the win there. But what'd you think of this match tonight?
You know, outside of the absolutely brutal bump that Gargano took, I think it worked well. I think Mauro Ranallo came out and said that basically the living embodiment of an action figure to describe Rich Holland, and he definitely looks the part. I mean, the guy, he's got some work to do in the ring, but of course, so does a lot of people who come through NXT, and then obviously they've had some success with creating stars. But I think they did really well. We'll have to see what they do here. Like you said, Johnny Gargano was kind of the consensus pick. I don't think you're going to leave him off of a takeover. I think they said that this would be his 16th one or his 18th one.
18th, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're going to be in 60% of all takeovers, you know you're going to have to be in it. So the right choice to go over. But that bump that Gargano took, just you can tell for everybody watching was tough. It was tough.
Well, as you know, apparently, at worst, he suffered a stinger.
Yeah.
Because we see Johnny Gargano beat Rich Holland into what I believe was the super kick.
Yeah.
We see Gargano almost getting the win there. We see a little interference by Candice, so I guess this was a good way to protect Rich Holland. At least see interference by Candice. Gargano gives Holland the low blow, hits the one final beat on Rich Holland. Gargano with the win. Johnny Gargano exemplifies takeover. He's the face of NXT and takeover. You know, just him with his tenure and some of the great matches that he's had.
Yeah. Some of the absolute best matches, I think, in WWE history that he's had at TakeOver. Some of those matches with Ciampa are some of my favorites of all time. I think, like I said, you can't have TakeOver without Johnny Gargano.
Yeah, his match against Andrade and Takeover Philly. I was there for that. I've seen him against Adam Cole, if I'm not mistaken, in Brooklyn, Takeover Brooklyn, before WrestleMania 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, Johnny Gargano is the embodiment of NXT, and yeah, great match. Rich Holland looked very good coming out with his entrance. Great theme song, good presentation. Yeah, I would like to see him work on his in ring, and then we may have something there with him in the future.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing going for me this week was AEW's was having their show on Saturday, so the NXT time slot was all NXT. They had the entire night to really show what they were made of and really kind of bring back some viewers and get them excited for TakeOver 30. I, for one, am excited because of the show, and I think they did a really good job of stepping up to the plate and getting people ready for this show. And it started off well with this match for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm interested to see what the ratings are. I would imagine that would be getting reported as of tomorrow sometime. Yeah. I'm very interested to see what the ratings go up to without the competition of AEW tonight. I'm also then interested to see the ratings that AEW Dynamite is going to pull on Saturday while Dynamite overlaps NXT TakeOver 30.
Yeah.
So, a very interesting week. There's a lot of wrestling to go around.
And it's going to be tough, especially with the NBA playoffs going on. That'll obviously play a factor in what happened tonight, but especially on Saturday, there's some good games slated for that. So we'll have to see if tonight's show really does affect how many people go out and view AEW, but also how many people go out and view TakeOver.
You make a good point. I have to follow my.
They played well today.
Nets.
They played well the past two games.
Yeah, they can't. You leave a great team like that hanging around through three quarters. Of the Nets aren't that team right now to sustain a lead of 10 points or fewer against a team like Toronto. Not happening. They're probably going to get swept, but I'll keep an eye on the Lakers. I'll see what they're doing. I'm really rooting for them as well. Because of the whole Kobe Bryant thing. But yeah, NBA. So far wrestling hasn't been heavily impacted by NBA. They've NXT and AEW have been kind of holding their own.
Yeah.
But we'll see as the time goes. Over the next couple of weeks for sure, because it's just going to get better and better as far as the playoffs go. And then not to mention hockey, but my Islanders are some good moves. But moving on, we had Dakota Kai in action tonight against Jessica Kamea. Won't spend too much time here, but they're setting up for their match against Dakota Kai and Io Shirai for the women's championship, which we'll touch on a little bit later. But we see Io Shirai take some boots to the face by Raquel Gonzalez, because we see Io interrupting Dakota Kai's promo while she's cutting a promo on Io. Io runs in and attacks Dakota. We see a little melee there with Dakota clearing the Io clearing the ring. Dakota then gets kicked in the face by Raquel Gonzalez. She sold that kick very well by Raquel.
Yes, she did.
So nice little segment there to build up their match.
Yeah, I think having Raquel Gonzalez come out and kind of realign herself with Dakota Kai and kind of have that extra muscle that Kai, I don't say she needs, but it adds an extra element to the match. I'm hoping that she doesn't play too much of a factor in Saturday's match. I think Kai and Shirai can give you a really good match, 15, 20-minute match on Saturday. And if they keep the interference to a minimum, it'll allow Gonzalez to have her moment in the show, but also allow these two wrestlers who we know can put on a good match do exactly that. And that's what I'm looking forward to see. I think having Dakota Kai as the next opponent for Io Shirai is a great choice, and I think we'll see hopefully a few more matches out of these two. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this match as well. I think it'll be a really good one if they keep the interference on the low.
Absolutely. We had Shotzi Blackheart and Rhea Ripley against Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah. We've seen Robert Stone brand, Aaliyah, and Mercedes feuding with Rhea Ripley, with Shotzi Blackheart now tethered to the feud over the last 2 weeks. As you know, Shotzi had ran over Robert Stone's leg with her tank, so that's how Shotzi's been intertwined in this as well. So we finally get the tag team match. Great match. There was a really good spot here. Ripley and Blackheart get the win tonight. Martinez was power bombed over the guardrail onto the concrete.
Yeah. That was like you said. What a bump. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought. And smart by WWE to kind of like hold them off. We didn't see them interact a lot throughout the match. That match is going to be great. We're going to see Ripley versus Martinez somewhere down the line. And
I'm not too sure if it's going to be this weekend.
Yeah, like you said, you never know with WWE. But whenever that match does happen, man, it's going to be a show stealer. Those two are going to be really good against each other. But yeah, that bump was crazy. And then one of the things I wanted to touch on is Aaliyah has done really well from, I don't know if you ever watched the network series Breaking Ground back in like 2015, I want to say. But we saw her kind of trying to find her character back then. And it's with the Robert Stone brand. I think she's done a really good job at that. Obviously, everybody needs to, improve their ring work. They'll be the first to tell you that as well. But I think she's found a good character to go off of and continue to build here.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the best featured I have seen Aaliyah in her tenure at NXT. She's doing some of her best work now, and being linked with Robert Stone, who's a great mouthpiece, and is definitely helping elevate her as a heel.
Yeah,
more work needing to be done for sure. And of course, you know what I always tell everybody: the way you get people over, is let's get some wins.
Yeah,
let's get some wins. Make it more believable. Make it believable that they are threatened as good as they are.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally forgot to take notes on the main event, but we're just fresh off of it, thank God. But we get the Velveteen Dream against Finn Balor. Winner goes to TakeOver 30 for the North American title match, the ladder match. That will be taking place this Saturday. I'm thoroughly looking forward to.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I've seen a bad NXT ladder match.
No, not at all.
But yeah, overall, we saw a lot of Velveteen Dream kind of hinting at the, Bullet Club and pointing the finger guns and everything, kind of trying to get in Finn Balor's head, which is great. Great character work from Velveteen Dream, which is something we kind of expect from him. We see everybody kind of get involved who is involved with the ladder match. We see Timothy Thatcher come out and kind of stop Finn Balor from taking the opportunity. And, it was a really good match. I think the winner kind of surprised me. I was expecting it more to be Balor, but Velveteen Dream is still a good choice. And I think he's going to add a good dynamic to the match.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about that field in a moment, but we've seen Velveteen in ladder matches in past. We know he can work. Timothy Thatcher was basically the straw that broke the camel's back, like the very last thing that happened before Finn Balor took the loss tonight. So I would expect to see Timothy Thatcher against Finn Balor added as a match for TakeOver, because I'm looking at the NXT TakeOver card and there's only like 4 matches, maybe 5 if you count the pre-show.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting some kind of match to be added.
And if it's that one, that'll be a great one. That'll be a great match.
So you know what? Let's segue right into NXT TakeOver predictions. So we quite possibly, I think we get that match added. Thatcher versus Finn Balor. I think TakeOver 30 is a good spot to do that.
Yeah.
Who do you pick to win there if that match happens?
I want to say Balor, But going off of what you said, I think the smart choice would be Thatcher, because you need high-profile wins. If you're going to continue to build stars, you need wins like that. We already know that Balor is not going to lose his spot at the top of the card. He's always going to be a marquee draw, no matter where he is, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, it doesn't matter. Thatcher is a hard-hitting guy who is going to give you a very good match if you let him. And I think if he gets the win here, it'll really increase his stock. So my pick is going to be Thatcher in the hopes that WWE makes a smart choice and allows him to continue to grow and get a nice win.
Yeah, Thatcher's been featured pretty heavily from week to week.
Yeah.
I like his persona. I like his ring work. But I feel like as if Finn Balor kind of been floundering a little bit, as if like, there might not be a whole lot to do, and they're kind of just sticking him in all these different feuds.
Yeah.
I mean, Finn Balor has a good takeover history. He's beaten a number of people in the past, but I'm not too sure. This is a tough one to call for me. I may have to go Finn Balor.
Seems like really tough one to call is the main draw for that. Should be the tagline for this weekend for WWE, because there's a lot of matches that are just tough to call.
Well, the tagline for SummerSlam weekend is you'll never see it coming.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna hit on that, because I feel like WWE is hinting towards something big this weekend for sure. But yeah. So getting to the actual card, so we know that Dream is added to the ladder match for the NXT North American title this coming Saturday. So here's our fields. We got Bronson Reed versus Damian Priest versus Cameron Grimes. Neither of them have been title holders from what I see. I mean, we saw Cameron Grimes trying to hold the title tonight.
Yeah.
Pretty good with it.
Yeah.
But again, that was just for advertisement purposes for this Saturday. And, you know, we saw him got knocked off the ladder. Yeah. But Cameron Grimes has been featured very well. Same as Damian Priest. He's had a little bit more of a track record recently, having a great match at NXT TakeOver in your house. Bronson Reed, he's been racking up some wins and ended up standing tall tonight to end the show of NXT tonight. And then we have Johnny Gargano in that match and Velveteen Dream. So with all the information that you've gathered and going off the show tonight, who could you see coming out here winning tonight's match? I'm sorry, Saturday night's match.
Yeah.
North American title.
You know, part of me wants to see Damian Priest kind of take the opportunity and run with it. We've seen him kind of be in a lot of high-profile matches. The past 6-7 months, he's done a really good job at performing in those matches. But my main pick is going to be Bronson Reed. I think he ended the show. We saw him with the title, and he is that kind of guy that you want to build up, kind of Keith Lee type, big body guy, but can move in the ring. I just feel like he'll be the best choice. I don't think Gargano and Finn Balor or Velveteen Dream are going to win. I think those are just kind of in there to just have veteran names that you know are going to give you just absolutely solid action throughout the entire match. But I would be surprised if Bronson Reed or Damian Priest don't walk out with the title.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to build stars, this is your opportunity.
Yeah.
As you know, the winner of the ladder match is the one who grabs the belt. So if Johnny doesn't win, Dream doesn't win, at least they're not taking pinfalls here.
Yeah.
So this would be the perfect opportunity to give somebody new, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest versus Cameron against Cameron Grimes, one of those three, the shot at having the North American title.
Yeah.
Bronson Reed has been on the roll lately. He was standing tall tonight. I'm not too sure if he's the one that wins it. You could always have him win and have him lose it to Johnny Gargano later on, or lose it to Priest or Cameron Grimes.
Yeah.
Dream, I'm not really too sure where they stand with him. But they could always put him back in the title picture and have him take the belt that he had not too long ago.
Yeah, I think the thing that NXT does so well, especially with these ladder matches, we know that I'd be very surprised if this ladder match wasn't top 2 match of the night on the card. But what they do so well is they really do build up stars. If you think of past ladder matches, Killian Dane and Lars Sullivan, they didn't win, but they were both given a lot of chances to look strong in those matches that they were featured in those ladder matches. And so I think even if you don't have a guy like Grimes or Priest or even Bronson Reed win, I think it's going to be one of those 3, but you're given the opportunity to run with the ball. We're giving you this chance to have 25-minute match and go out and put it all on the line. And normally we see these guys step up. So it'll be good to see these guys, like those 3 young guys, build their superstardom up. I think they all have a chance to be really good stars in the future of the business. And if they're allowed to have some high quality spots and make some really cool moves, I think either way, everybody's going to come out of this match a winner.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel out of the bunch, Damian Priest might be the one to take it because I just feel like it's his turn.
Yeah.
This is real. It's been his turn. He's been on the NXT cards longer than anybody, kind of knocking at the door, high profile matches. Great match at the last takeover that he had against, I think that was against Finn Balor, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. And he had a great showing. He kind of reminds me of like a young Scott Hall.
Yeah,
with his moveset. I kind of like Damian Priest, especially with the right tango partner. I think I may have to go Damian Priest for now with, maybe Bronson Reed and those other guys kind of looming in the title picture later on. So looking at this match, I mean, the mid-card North American title picture looks great.
Yeah.
For the next couple months to come, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that just proves how well WWE has done, or how well NXT has done in constantly losing stars, constantly losing those mid-card guys, like we just saw them lose Matt Riddle to the main roster. And they continually bring up these new guys and have new guys who come into these matches and they make stars themselves. And I think when you can constantly have a mid-card that is going to put on 15, 20-minute matches that are always going to be top of the class, I mean, you can't get much better than that. So props to NXT. I mean, they just do an outstanding job of developing stars.
Yeah, Triple H and Shawn Michaels have done an excellent job building the stars up. But the problem is what happens to them once they go to either Raw or SmackDown.
Yeah, when they go to the main roster, it's a whole different story.
Yeah. Moving on, we have the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai defending against Dakota Kai. As we saw tonight, we touched on a little earlier, Raquel Gonzalez was a factor. She hadn't been on NXT for a couple of weeks now, but basically came out of nowhere tonight, attacked Io Shirai with the boot, with a very good boot to the face, as we talked about a few minutes ago. I have a feeling about this match. I can go either way. Io Shirai basically just won this title.
Yeah.
Not long ago. I think she's had about 3 months now. This is a tough one to call. NXT doesn't really do hot potato with the championship belt too much. They usually notoriously give each title holder a couple months of run at it and what have you. Dakota Kai, she's been knocking on the door for a while. She's quickly elevated up to the main event scene in the women's division. Raquel could very well be a factor in this match with some kind of distraction. And like you said before, I would like to see a good 15, 20 minutes out of these girls, see what they can do. But I have a feeling Raquel is going to be a factor in this match. which would then help Dakota Kai become the women's champion. I have a feeling that might very well happen.
Yeah. I'll have to disagree with you there. I think Shirai is going to take it. I think she's done a great job with the time that she's had in being the champion. I love Dakota Kai. I always thought she was very underrated, and now that she's finally getting a push and being able to challenge for the women's championship, I think that's great. I just don't know if it's her time yet. We kind of talked about that with Damian Priest. Io Shirai was kind of always hovering around that area, and now she finally got to the spot where she's the champion. And like you said, they don't do hot potato that long, and I think they're going to give her a good title run. And I would love to see, like we talked about, minimal interference. But even if there is, I still think that Shirai finds a way to pull it out.
I mean, listen, in my opinion, it's fairly soon, since Io's won the title.
Yeah.
So it may not very well happen here. I could definitely, if it doesn't, I could definitely see it happening in a return match for sure.
Yeah.
So you got Io.
Yeah, I got
and
Io.
I got Dakota.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee.
Oh, this is the one I've been waiting to talk about.
Yeah, your Indiana boy.
Yes.
Now, is this a street fight? What's happening here? A singles match?
I think it's just a straight up singles match. But with the way they've been talking, you would think that a stipulation might help this match even more. Kind of get the old Undisputed Era involved. But we didn't really mention it on the NXT kind of quick recap that we did. But I don't know what you thought. I loved Pat McAfee's promo. For him to come out and play the heel here and basically make fun of the wrestling community and say that, he could jump in whatever avenue he wants and make millions of dollars if he really put his head to it. Like, his promo for not being involved in the wrestling business that much was great. I thought that stepped that match up to a whole new level, especially with Cole. Cole only had to say a few words saying, I'm going to make you my you-know-what at the end of the match. I'm very excited for this match. I honestly didn't think I would be, but it should be a good one.
I'm very excited about this because I'm kind of starting to see a little bit of a bigger picture of what's happening here. I'm not too sure exactly what they had planned for Adam Cole, if he's going to go to Raw, if he's going to go to SmackDown.
Yeah. And
you know what? I think he would give SmackDown or Raw a major shot in the arm. But he very well could be staying in the NXT brand. I'm not too sure what's going to be happening there. I was expecting maybe some kind of stipulation of a street fight. I mean, we don't know how Pat McAfee is going to work in the ring.
Yeah.
He's certainly got the gift of gab.
Yeah, for sure.
He would be a great mouthpiece manager for somebody in the future if he were to stick around.
Yeah, and I saw something in it was if Pat McAfee can wrestle half as well as he can talk, we're going to have an enjoyable match to watch. And he's athletic, and I think that's something that people take away from him is that, yes, he was a punter, but if you go back and look at his highlights, he laid the boomstick on a lot of players, especially one of my Broncos players. But he can go, and he's a very good athlete, and we've seen him post some stuff on his YouTube page, on his Facebook and other social media pages about his training. And it looks really good. Like, he can do some moonsaults. He runs the ropes pretty well. For a guy jumping into that avenue and having, 2 weeks to train, obviously he's been training for a little bit longer, but having a short amount of time to jump into the wrestling world and get ready for a match especially of this caliber, I'm very impressed with Pat McAfee.
And this is probably going to be on ESPN.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that you get
a lot of coverage.
You get coverage from the outside world, from those people who aren't wrestling fans, and they go, why is Pat McAfee wrestling at a WWE event? And like you said, ESPN's going to cover it, and then Fox Sports will cover it, and all these other places are going to cover it because they're talking about Pat McAfee. And WWE has this weird thing where sometimes they don't know what their fans want, but they also, with what we'll talk about with their announcement for this weekend, they know how to get fans excited kind of just out of the blue and bring eyes to the product. And I think that's what they're doing here. And like that tweet said, if he can wrestle as half as good as he can talk, we should have a really enjoyable match.
Now, let me ask you, do you think McAfee gets the win here?
Yes, only because I also see bigger picture, and I also agree with you. I think that Cole is going to go to SmackDown or Raw. We saw it with the Survivor Series when they had NXT come through, and he wrestled Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, and it was a great match, a absolutely great match. And we all know that he can do that, and that's the thing that kind of makes me more excited about this match, is that McAfee can go in there and not be the best wrestler, but you're stepping into the ring with a guy who's getting comparisons to Shawn Michaels. Oh, yeah. The dance partner that McAfee has can't get much better. But I think this is where we see Undisputed Era finally turn on Adam Cole, and it lets them drift away and slowly kind of still stay around. I think they could go up against Phantasma. That threesome right there, that'll be a good match down the line. But yeah, I could see McAfee getting the win because of the Undisputed Era.
Let me ask you this. If Adam Cole stays where he is, just the way we saw Undisputed out there, seemingly they all basically just turned face.
Yeah.
Quite possibly just for this feud. Then you have Pat McAfee with his football entourage.
Yeah.
November is 2.5 months away. I was thinking War Games. Possible War Games with Undisputed Era against Pat McAfee and his guys.
It wouldn't surprise me if that happened, honestly. I don't know. He brought in, for our football fans, he brought in AJ Hawk, who was former Green Bay Packer, and then he brought in his former teammate, Darius Butler, to the show with him. I don't know how, that would work, getting them trained for wrestling and all that stuff, but I could see it. I think, at some point you got to start building for future cards, and that's something that WWE has struggled with, is long-term booking for a long time. It's something that they've dealt with. But I think that could work.
I mean, listen, you don't necessarily have to have the high flying and all the athleticism. I mean, in a War Games match, you could have an all out brawl, weapons. Let's just see a barn burner of a match.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I just so to me, like, it's coming across a little bit of gang warfare, sort of.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Maybe a couple seeds were being planted tonight. But we very well could see Adam Cole go up to the main roster on Monday, as early as Monday or next Friday, like the rumors have been. So I guess only time's going to tell. But if you keep him on NXT, what do you do?
I think maybe it's the fan in me that wants to just see how great of a match this would be. But it's the fact that I'm hoping that at some point the Undisputed Era has to split up. And if you keep Adam Cole in NXT for, we don't know when the draft is going to be, but let's say 2 months. If you keep him in there for 2 months and you split up Undisputed Era, and then for War Games you set up a fatal 4-way between all 4 members, like, I'm surprised that match hasn't been done yet, because having those 4 guys in the ring is money making right there. And I'm waiting for it, and I'm hoping after every pay-per-view that somehow Undisputed Era will turn on him, or they'll break up or something. And I feel like this is the closest we've been to that. And I think it also makes sense with the fact that we know that Adam Cole is going to go up to the main roster at some point, probably at least by the end of the year. And so if you're going to do it, why not do it now?
I mean, listen, imagine, and you hinted at it a couple minutes ago, imagine if the UE turned on Adam Cole.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
That would be very interesting. You know what, Tommy? All that stuff can happen, but it's just a matter of how we get there. How do we get to a fatal 4-way? How do we get to, Adam Cole going up to the main roster, which very well could happen via draft. But we'll have to see. But NXT champion Keith Lee defended against Karrion Kross. Now, Karrion Kross has been built up very strong. And if you guys listen to the AEW part of our Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast review shows, we see Randy talk about the importance of it's how you present these wrestlers. Now, Karrion Kross has been presented very, very strong.
Yes.
We've seen him plow through everybody.
Yeah.
It seems like nothing ever hurts him. But now they've been building Karrion Kross all year for the most part. It seemed at first it seems like we were going to get Adam Cole versus Karrion Kross.
Yeah.
It looked like we were going to get that.
Yeah.
Now it looked like just out of nowhere, WWE calls an audible and decides to have Keith Lee take that title off Adam Cole. Thinking to give Karrion Kross a more of a bigger, dangerous opponent to further put over Karrion Kross when he gets the win. It looked to me that Karrion Kross was going to be the one to be the next champion to take the title off Adam Cole until Keith Lee came in. Now, Keith Lee's been a title holder for about 6 weeks now. So we have a little situation here.
Yeah.
We have a situation here. Karrion Kross looks very strong. I personally think he takes the title here.
I agree. I agree with you.
It's kind of hard to call because, again, Keith Lee's only had this title for 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Maybe WWE has big plans for him. He quite possibly could be one of the next ones to go up to Raw or SmackDown, and maybe Tripp and Sean wanted to give Keith Lee his moment and just a quick run with the title.
Yeah. And I mean, like with that, he's had a big moment on WWE TV with the Survivor Series, interacting with Seth and Roman. And, for a while, a lot of people thought he was going to actually win that match. And he performed so well in that match. So it could be his time, but we talked about this in the last episode that we did together. It's just, they've almost backed themselves into a corner because you have two red hot guys who are just going to meet face to face, and somebody's going to lose momentum and somebody's going to continue it. And the way they've been building up Kross, I just don't see how he doesn't walk away with the title. I think he's a smart choice, and I think he's the right choice to do it. I think Keith Lee is going to be able to continue to be that dominant force without the title, and they can do a rematch somewhere down the line, maybe at War Games or something like that. But I just think that Kross is too hot right now. He's way too hot to just take all the momentum off of him and have him get beat. So he's my pick.
He's my pick too. I feel like WWE NXT rather, because Vince McMahon running the WWE, probably Triple H and Shawn running the NXT. But I feel like NXT has invested a lot of time and build into Karrion Kross. I love his presentation. He looks strong. The way he's been built, I cannot see how he loses this title.
Yeah. And
let's just say if he does, let's just say if Karrion Kross does lose, how do we make that happen?
Yeah. And that's tough because I don't think that there's anybody on the roster right now who can make that happen. And to get a person to that point, you have to build up new stars. And so do you build up, a guy like Damian Priest if he doesn't win the North American title match? Or do you build up a guy like Bronson Reed or Cameron Grimes, one of these guys? I don't know if those three are the guys that you would choose, but there's got to be somebody who can take the title off of him, and I just don't know if they even know who that's going to be right now.
Yeah, I really think the easy choice here is Karrion Kross, just the way he's been built. I don't think Keith Lee necessarily gets hurt if he takes the loss here. Really, really, really tough one to call. I mean, again, 6 weeks is too soon, and normally under normal circumstance, I would probably say Keith Lee's winning, but going against an opponent the way that such as Karrion Kross, the way that he's been built, I have to say this is the summer of Karrion Kross. I think Karrion Kross gets the win here.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Announced tonight, there is a tag team number 1 contender match, which will be on the pre-show. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I got the lineup right. It's Breezango versus Phantasma versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch.
Yes, that is correct.
Winner faces the Imperium, which I'm thinking that tag team title match could be added to the show.
Yeah, it could be something later on in the show.
They could do that. I feel like NXT's got 4 solid matches lined up. I'm not including the number 1 contender match for tag team titles.
Yeah,
that's on the pre-show. So they got 4 matches lined up. I feel like we could easily get one more match in there.
1 or 2, yeah, especially if you add in the Finn Balor and Thatcher match. I think a 6-match card gives. The average show is like 2 hours long, gives everybody a really good chance to shine, and you have your long matches and your intermediate matches, but you don't need to go out and have a 7-minute segment or something like that. I think that's what NXT does so well is they give their wrestlers time to show what they can do best, and that's wrestle. And so I think if they bump the card to 5-6 matches, if they decide to do that title match, on the show later, I'd be 100% okay with it.
Which I think is probably going to happen. That would probably be a little bit later in the card, maybe like somewhere in the middle. And then not to mention they very well could add Balor versus Thatcher, which we touched on earlier.
Yeah,
I don't think they add Rhea Ripley and Mercedes Martinez. As we talked about earlier, Mercedes Martinez took the big bump, so I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
But I do think Finn and Thatcher could get added and a tag team title match. Now, who do you think wins this number 1 contender match?
Man, I like Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I like Breezango to begin with. I think they are great. Being consummate professionals, great veterans to have. But the way I would see it going is Phantasma winning. Having them win and then having the Cruiserweight champion as your leader too. And the WWE has been kind of doing this stable, 3-person stable, going back to that from the old days. We see the Hurt Business now with Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and MVP. I just think having a very powerful stable like that for whenever Walter comes back to fight for them, and then you still have the Undisputed Era. I just think having a 3-person stable that holds all the titles, at least, the 2 titles, the Cruiserweight and the tag team titles, it would really, like we talk about, building up stars, giving them a high-profile win and having them carry the belts would really bring some eyes to Phantasma.
Phantasma's been looking great these past 2 weeks. They've been looking great. Their presentation's good. Santos Escobar, he's been looking great. Great presentation. His in-ring is good, and I feel like he's building some momentum. His name is getting out there weekly.
Raul Mendoza, he's just been flying around the ring. This is a good
spot for Raul Mendoza and Jakeem Wild, if I got his name correct. They had nothing to do for many months, and then they finally paired them 2 up with Santos Escobar, and these guys, they're it's a good fit. I like what I see weekly with these guys.
Yeah,
and Santos Escobar has been great in the ring.
And I think we saw that that match tonight with Swerve Scott, Breezango versus Phantasma. I think Swerve Scott and Phantasma are going to have a really good battle over the Cruiserweight Championship.
And that's another match that very well could be added this Saturday.
Yeah, because they seem to hint that Swerve Scott is kind of like the kryptonite for him. So would he take that title off? If he did, then that would obviously change my prediction. But I think if they didn't do that match and at the end of the day he's still Cruiserweight champion, I think that having the entire stable be champions to create just like that's 3 stars that you're creating right there, because you own 2 of the 4 championships that are men can get. So I mean, it's the way you want to do it. You build up strong stables and you add more people to them, and they succeed. So I think that'll be my pick. So I'll go with Phantasma to take that one.
Absolutely. You know what? I think I'll be rooting for Phantasma on that for sure. I mean, they can kind of use Imperium as like a tweener kind of thing. I don't think Phantasma takes the titles by any means, but I think you can get away with doing that match for sure. Well, the winner will face Imperium, I'm assuming that night.
Yeah.
But let's move on. That pretty much covers the NXT show that we saw tonight. That basically covers our NXT predictions. Not a very big card, but it will be a very quality card. NXT takeovers can never do any wrong. Now, we got SummerSlam. But before we talk about SummerSlam, we got SmackDown tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Friday night. I feel like it's a little later in the week than what it is.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, all week it has been advertised that WWE will be live from the Amway Center under the Thunderdome. I tried to get my tickets in and register to get my face on one of those LED boards that they're going to be having, but I couldn't. Everything's sold out. I can't get my face on there. We'll probably be seeing some familiar faces on there, like collar and elbow guy, Simon with the long hair and his mom,
of course,
Brock Lesnar guy. I guarantee we're going to see those faces on there. That's almost a must.
Yeah,
but so we're gonna see virtual. They're changing the set. Apparently, from according to the Living the Gimmick podcast, it's one of my favorite podcasts. You guys should definitely check them out. I have no problem promoting other podcasts. But they went in detail how WWE is set to use the Amway Center for the next couple months and quote a very good deal, $450,000. For the to use Amway Center for the next 2 months or so, or maybe even for the remainder of the year. But so it should be very interesting. Pyro, there's going to be a new set, new designs, LED boards for the virtual fans. I am really interested in the presentations of this. Pictures are online.
Yes.
What do you think?
The name, I don't know. I don't know if I am a fan of the name. I think it kind of sounds cheesy. But going back to my previous comment, WWE always seems to know how to do something controversial or bring in somebody from the outside world to get more eyes on the product. And for them to just kind of out of nowhere say, okay, well, we're leaving the Performance Center and we're going to take some cues from the NBA with their virtual fans, and we're going to have them be able to be there. But now we're going to be in an arena like we would if we had a normal show, and we're going to have better pyro and, better sets. And it's just going to be, we're going back to live instead of taped and all that stuff. I think I can't say I'm optimistic, but I can't say I'm pessimistic either, because I will be sure watching on Friday, and I'm sure that I'll be joined by a lot. I think the ratings on Friday are going to be very high.
Over 2. Over 2.
Yeah. WWE's pulled stuff off like this before, where they just kind of shoot from the hip and hope it sticks, and it has. And sometimes they've completely missed. And, here's to hoping that it does work, because if you can, especially in this time, bring in with the Performance Center, we see a lot of these guys like Brock and like Roman Reigns not coming to the shows for, obvious safety precautions. Maybe now being in an arena where there's a lot more locker rooms and a lot more corridors and all that stuff, there's more space. You can kind of entice those guys to come back in, and especially if you increase the ratings and you get more people watching. We have to remember they do have a deal with Fox, and that's a good deal. They're going to be on a good TV channel for a while. So if they can get more ratings on that 8:00 time slot on Friday, I could see lasting impacts for them with some of their returning superstars coming back. But that's if and only if WWE does this well.
Yeah, it could very well happen, and especially if there's no outbreaks in coronavirus amongst superstars, as that was happening a couple months ago. But I could just picture Vince McMahon on a commentary, live from the Thunderdome.
Yeah, of course.
Oh man, you ever hear Vince McMahon's commentary from the early '90s?
Yes, of course. Oh.
Very impressive. I miss his commentary.
It's whenever he would do a little like guest commentary when I was growing up, like when 2003, 2007, you'd see him on the mic like once in a blue moon. He was just so good at it compared to everybody else. It's impressive how much he's brought to the wrestling business and how good he is at everything. I mean, even some of his matches are enjoyable,
Oh, absolutely.
Consummate professional.
Vince McMahon, especially during the Attitude Era, goes down as one of the greatest heels, believe it or not.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And the way Steve Austin and Vince McMahon bouncing off of each other like that, that saved WWE.
Yeah, that bump that he took off of the cage at St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Yes.
This is one of the bumps that's engraved in my mind. What a great bump for an old man to take.
Oh, and that butt whooping that he took from Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 22.
Yes, it's a great match.
And he even did some pretty good work. Not the greatest of match, but he did some pretty good work with Hulk Hogan WrestleMania 19.
Yeah.
And then his storytelling in WrestleMania 17 with Vince and Stone Cold Steve Austin joining together, which in my opinion was aside from Seth Rollins winning Money in the Bank, I think the WrestleMania 17 Seth Rollins winning the belt by cashing in. I think the WrestleMania 17, which in my opinion is one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, featured one of the best shockers to end the show.
Yeah,
with Vince and Steve Austin becoming alliance with each other.
Yeah,
a lot of good wrestling history, man.
Yeah.
So I may one day introduce a segment. I'm not going to do it tonight. We're not going to do that. It's something I'd want to plan, but called This Week in Wrestling. But that idea came about as I was driving today, thinking about the show and what have you. So I watched Raw and Nitro from January 1st of '96. And it's night and day between the two shows.
Yeah,
where they were at in the state of wrestling, with Nitro having all the best superstars, great matches, and then you have the Raw Bowl going on with the tag team elimination matches. There's nothing really going on. And Nitro always had that pay-per-view feel, kind of look to their shows, kind of like what AEW is doing now. And that's what grabbed a lot of wrestling fans to watch Nitro.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was two totally different shows, and they were at two totally different positions. Obviously, WWF was the more popular, but WCW was just on another level, winning the ratings war. And you can tell, you watch two shows, the comparisons, and you can tell why WCW is winning the ratings war. And then you see Steve Mongo and Michael saying, listen, if you guys want to watch the Smoking Guns tonight in a tag team match, you can switch to the other channel, but this is where the big boys play. And every week you see,
of course,
and you catch WCW giving results away and what have you. But I found that really intriguing to go back. And actually, you know what? I had fun watching both shows. I'm not gonna lie. But moving on, so we're gonna have the Thunderdome this the next 4 days, and you're right. I think we're gonna see a little bit of a ratings boost because of the intrigue. And not to mention it's SummerSlam weekend. You got the go home show for SmackDown on Friday night. A lot of wrestling going on. You got AEW at 6:00, NXT Takeover live on the WWE Network 7:00. Then you got SummerSlam and on Sunday with the Raw Fallout. And you know what? Listen, we'll give a little bit of an honorable mention. I believe there's New Japan the week after, and then the week after that is AEW All Out. A lot, and very busy wrestling season.
Yeah, you said Payback, right?
Oh my goodness!
That's next weekend.
Payback too. Oh man.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun one. I'm wondering that I feel like Payback has to be. I feel like Monday they'll be doing a lot with Raw Underground. I feel like Payback has to see the introduction of a Underground Championship or something, because having a pay-per-view a week after one of your major 4 pay-per-views is ballsy for sure. But they talk about wrestling fatigue that you can get from having so much, and that was one of the things that WWE had back in 2006, 2007, 2008 when they had ECW, and they were just constantly producing pay-per-views. There's got to be something different that is going to make me excited from what happens at SummerSlam for that whole week for Payback,
So now listen, so we got WWE SummerSlam, which is now tagged. If you guys that are watching, I got my little SummerSlam banner in the background. I see you viewers. Feel free to leave comments. We want to interact with you guys too. It's not about us. We're here to try to entertain you. I would hope you like my entertaining and the conversations, but this is your show too as well. Feel free to drop some comments. What you think might happen at SummerSlam, we'll be sure to address them. But yeah, so WWE SummerSlam is tagged. You'll never see it coming. Now, which leads me to believe that there is some sort of a big angle coming. Could it be the return of Brock Lesnar? Could he be the one that interferes and gets his payback against Drew McIntyre? Of course, him the belt and Randy. Could Shawn Michaels turn on Drew? Could we finally see who's revealed is the leader of Retribution? We're going to talk about all that coming up. But first, let's get to our WWE SummerSlam card. We have the Street Profits defending their titles against Andrade and Garza for the Raw Tag titles. My opinion, I think it's time. Street Profits have had it for a little bit. I think it's time that we there's 2 ways they can go here. Andrade and Garza lose, causing an official split between Andrade and Garza, because they did tease that a couple months ago for sure.
Yeah.
That absolutely happened, but they kind of cooled that down. But there's always that possibility there. But WWE's problem is, for each brand, is the lack of tag teams.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're not in a position to be splitting up tag teams. So although a split could happen, I don't think it's going to happen here, and neither should they. Should do it, but it's a possibility. I think we get Andrade and Garza winning the Raw tag titles. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think there, like you said, there really is only two options. Either they win or they lose and they split up. And with that, I 100% agree with you. I just don't think that with the lack of quality tag teams, and again, with this, WWE hasn't announced it, but we all kind of know that this draft is going to come at some point. With the draft, maybe they'll finally start putting together new tag teams and getting new faces and getting tag teams that people are going to like, and not having, it where it's 1 week it's a new tag team and then they're just forgotten about or they're pushed to the back. Yeah, I think Angel Garza and Andrade can win. I think they will win, and I think it keeps the Street Profits. There can be some interference with Zelina Vega that kind of hints at a rematch or some sorts, but I just think with what we've seen, the comedy acts that the Street Profits have kind of been involved with, the Viking Raiders and all that, I just think now's the time to have a team that's led by a good manager that can go in the ring and is the guys that you want to hold the title without breaking them up. I just think they're the easy pick.
Yeah. So listen, WWE's problem here is, they need to add tag teams. I don't know how you can consider yourself a division with just 3 tag team titles on one, 3 tag teams representing one tag team title picture, and then 4 on another show. Yeah. It's just really not working for me. I would rather see. This is one of the reasons why I want to see the brands merge again, because you don't need brand split anymore. You got WWE, NXT, or AEW. You really don't need brand split. And that would actually help out the tag division, because now you're going from 3 and 4 on one, and now we can go to 7 or 8 tag teams and make it like an actual tag team division for once.
Yeah.
And that's what I think they should do. Or just merge the tag titles.
Yeah.
Have them float around like Bayley and Sasha.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. And I'm not the biggest fan of the draft because of, when the draft happens, it's like, oh, it's.
Bear with us. We got a little frozen. So yeah, those that are watching,
renewed energy, and then you have AEW. Like we're already seeing NXT. They're not taking place at the Amway Center or the Amway Arena. They're doing everything still from Full Sail. So, having them separate that, I think it's a great move. I think it still kind of adds into we're different from WWE. We're our own brand. We're competing with them just as much as they're competing with us. But no, I like your idea. I think if they just got rid of the brand split, put everybody together, and did something, I don't want to say that they copy it from them, but AEW Dark, even though it's not always the best, is a really good opportunity for these wrestlers that you don't see every week, that you may see on TV once a month, but they're still getting the chance to wrestle on another show. You use social media. WWE is huge on social media. They've used Facebook for the Mixed Match Challenge, but get on YouTube or something like that and do something where you have, for those guys who aren't always going to be at the top of the card, let them fight and continue to build storylines on that show. And then when those storylines are done and they have, continue to create more, then you can start building up stars, and then they can slide into, a spot with somebody on Raw. That's my take on it. I know that was kind of a long answer. I feel like, you can learn from your competition, and AEW has done a really good job with having an abundance of tag teams fighting over one single belt. And, for them, that's the thing, is they don't, there's too many tag teams to give credit to everybody. And so giving all your guys a good chance to just show off, even if it is on a show that would be, similar to AEW Dark, you get guys on there and you get the chance to build stories and continue to create rosters, continue to create teams that people are going to be invested in, instead of just throwing, 2 dudes together. Like if they threw R-Truth and Miz together, they have history, but it wouldn't make sense storyline right now. So I just think if they were to do something like that, it would solve a lot of their problems that don't just stem from the tag team champions. That was a very long answer, but
No, let me ask you this. This isn't in my notes. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna bring it up during the
Okay.
title match.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. And actually, what I was about to talk about is Otis with the briefcase, but we'll talk about that later. The U.S. title match, we have Apollo Crews versus MVP.
Yeah.
MVP been doing pretty good work. You see Apollo Crews been feuding, and Apollo Crews has had help from Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, and Mustafa Ali.
Yeah.
Basically feuding with the Hurt Business. Is that they call that right? Hurt Business.
Yeah.
Is that they're calling themselves? Okay. MVP been great on the mic. Bobby Lashley, I know is probably. I'm thinking Apollo is going to beat MVP, and then Lashley is going to get the next crack at Apollo.
Yeah.
After SummerSlam sometime. I feel like there's some unfinished business there between Apollo and Lashley. And Lashley's kind of just like the lackey right now and interfering with Shelton Benjamin. Apollo's been having some good matches. So
Yeah.
WWE's been letting them carry the title for a little bit now. I'm a little surprised. I kind of like it. But what do you think of this match? What do you think is the possibilities of who wins and where they go from here?
I do think that Apollo wins. I think you kind of highlighted having MVP back is great. He's still pretty good in the ring, but it's his talking, and that was kind of what sold his character when he first came in. He's so good on the mic, and he runs this Hurt Business so well. And I think at some point, like you said, Bobby Lashley, they've been building him up as this dominant heel. I feel like at some point when fans come back, we're going to see Bobby Lashley versus Brock, because it kind of almost has to happen at some point. At least I hope it does. But I think Apollo Crews has really been given a chance to shine, and I think he's done a great job with it. It's great to see how far he's come, and the injury setbacks that he had to now being the champion and putting on good matches. We all knew that he was very athletic and could really go in the ring, but I think his mic skills have improved a little bit. So I think being able to work with MVP, who can obviously teach him more on those mic skills, it should be a good 10, 15-minute match, maybe even a little lesser, that Apollo Crews ends up winning. And then I think Bobby Lashley attacks him after, and like you said, kind of sets up that
could that could set his match. That can set up something for payback.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. MVP could easily beat Apollo and then won his payback at payback.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's something, a little flip flopping could happen here, or we could see Apollo with a new challenger the following week.
Yeah.
Wanting to get paid back. Maybe Lashley will be the one to interfere and lock that full Nelson in after Apollo gets the win, and then setting up a match for the week after. We could easily see something like that. I have a feeling Apollo gets the win here. So you're going with Apollo on this one?
Yeah. I'll take Apollo.
Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins in a street fight. There's only one problem I have with this. Dominic is a kid.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to believe that Dominic is going to be the one coming out the victor. We listen. We know that he's talented. We know that he's going to have Ray in his corner for sure. We know Dominic can work. It's just the one thing that bothers me is Dominic just has that baby face to him, and it's not that long ago that we saw little Dominic at WrestleMania 21.
Oh,
or SummerSlam 2005.
Yeah. 05, the custody match.
The custody match, and it just feels like yesterday. Like Dominic can barely look over the rail, and like 15 years later, he's still only 20 years old, 21. But we know that Dominic could work. It's just hard for me to believe that Dominic is going to come out beating Seth Rollins in this. So they decide to make this a street fight, which the promotion is that Dominic has all the tools to be able to use to try to beat Seth Rollins, which I have a feeling about this match that Dominic Mysterio might get the win here.
Yeah. I think that Rey Mysterio is going to turn on his son.
What do you think? The father's going to turn on the son?
I do think the father's going to turn on his son because I think a lot
and
of the
keep in
a
mind
lot of
the tag that you'll never see it coming.
Exactly,
that that I would never see coming.
It's the internet community the internet wrestling community has talked for so long, especially when this feud was going on with Rey and Seth, that Dominic's going to turn on his dad. Dominic's going to join. What a swerve it would be if Mysterio turns on his son and joins, Seth Rollins and is one of the disciples now. I think that would just it would make for interesting television. That's for sure. And I think it would kind of hide this, allow for a good match. I think we're going to see both Seth Rollins and Dominic take a pretty brutal beating throughout the entire night. But I just feel like that would be the best way to, if you're going to, call the tagline, you'll never see it coming. That's something that you will never see coming. Exactly. Yeah. So, why not build off of it? And it does make some storyline sense that, losing his eye has given him a new lease on life and all that stuff. I'm spitballing here, but I would like to see that happen. I would love to see Dominic win the match because Rey somehow helps Seth Rollins win, or somehow helps. Well, no, I guess it's no DQ since it's a street fight.
Yeah. Rey Mysterio could still turn.
Yeah, Mysterio turns, but
it cost him the match for sure.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, he cost him the match.
They could always go along with some kind of storyline with his dad trying to teach his son a lesson.
Yeah.
It's possible. It would be interesting and maybe strange in my opinion to see Rey as a disciple of Seth.
Yeah.
But could I see a turn? It very well could happen. And they can hey, listen, Rey Mysterio and Dominic could very well, and if that does happen, it would probably not too sure if you put Rey under Seth, but you could have them have their separate feud.
Yeah.
Which would maybe quite possibly be a retirement feud of Dominic versus Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
You could definitely have a feud there.
And that would be something that people would want to see, I'd say.
Yeah. And listen, people, wrestling fans have been wondering about that possibility that Rey Mysterio would want to work with a program with his son, whether it be together as a tag team or kind of like what they're doing now or against each other. It's very possible.
Sounds like I'm making you a believer, Wayne.
You are making me a believer. I'm not too sure about Rey being in the stable part of it, but as far as the turn goes and then them getting away from Seth Rollins and have Seth Rollins do something else, I can see that a little bit more. Sasha Banks. So check this out. We see we can kind of talk about this 2-1.
Yeah.
Sasha Banks is defending against the Raw title against Asuka for the women's title, and over the last week or two, SmackDown had the three brands, women from all three brands represented in a battle royal match. Number one, the winner of that becomes the number one contender for Bayley's SmackDown title, and somehow Asuka inserted herself into that match about a week or two ago into that battle royal. I believe it was last Friday.
Yeah.
So Asuka wins that match. So now she is already the number one contender, already has her match set in place for Sasha Banks' Raw Women's title this Sunday at SummerSlam. And as a result of her winning that Battle Royal on Friday, Asuka also has a match with Bayley, which will also take place Sunday at SummerSlam. I'm wondering if they do this back to back, or they do the 2 matches separate, 1 match earlier tonight and 1 match later tonight. All I know is, if I'm not mistaken, I think Sasha volunteered Bailey to have the first shot
Yeah.
at Asuka, which is pretty interesting because I see the mind games here.
Yeah.
Because this way, by the time that Asuka gets to Sasha, Bailey, win or lose, will have already worn Asuka down, and then you get a fresh Sasha Banks going against an already battle-ridden Asuka for the Raw Women's title. So I see something going on there, a little seed planted towards a future breakup, which they've been trying to drag along. I think WWE is trying to wait to pull the trigger on a breakup between these two. I think the initial plan was for the Sasha Bailey versus SummerSlam when it was in Boston, but we know how that all worked out. But now, so we have 2 separate matches. Asuka, could she very well be walking out of SummerSlam as Asuka 2 belts? Your thoughts?
I don't think she'll walk out as 2 belts, but I do think she will walk out with 1. And the reason I say that is because, going off of what you say, I think now with the whole Thunderdome thing, kind of being able to have live fans there in some capacity, like virtually, you'll be able to have more interactivity with an audience instead of just having, 20 members of, the backstage guys or the guys who are on the show, behind glass there. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I think that dynamic of being in a completely new environment is going to open up a lot more of these storylines that haven't really unlocked their potential because of the lack of fans. And I think that if Asuka takes one of the belts, don't know which one, and the other person, whoever she loses it to, tries to interfere in that match to make sure that she doesn't take the second one, I think that can kind of continue that rift between Bailey and Sasha that will ultimately lead down to, another great match. We've seen them have great matches in NXT before. And so I think Asuka wins 1, but I don't think she takes both.
WWE's kind of hinted at it a lot. Could it be Asuka 2 belts? Which I'm thinking that it may not be.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a strong possibility. But we see Asuka and Bailey first. I could easily see Bailey beginning to place blame on Sasha for volunteering her to go first, and meanwhile Bailey loses. And listen, keep in mind Bailey's had that championship belt for well over 300 days. It might even be close to a year now. Which leads me to believe that Asuka may take that SmackDown title. Because we know Sasha's going to be that second match.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what's going to happen there. Then you see Bailey coming into interfere.
Yeah, and it sets up a good feud. You need good feuds for Raw. It's your flagship show. It sets up a good feud over, especially if Sasha retains after that, for Bailey and Sasha to start their kind of chase for the belt. So
now let's go along with the "you'll never see it coming."
Yeah.
Could it be possible that Bailey blatantly turns on Sasha, costing her the belt out of frustration that Sasha volunteers Bailey to be the first match and Bailey loses to a fresh Asuka? Could it be possible that we see maybe Bailey turn on Sasha at SummerSlam?
Yeah, I do think it could be possible, and I think like we were just saying, like that could lead to a good. Whoever wins, like we both kind of agree that Asuka will probably win one of the titles.
She's win 1 belt. I think if I have to choose one, it's going to be the SmackDown one.
That's my choice too. Yeah, and then having that, you have the Raw belt, which is, like I said, your flagship show, and you have 2 of your best wrestlers going after the title, where that they're going to give you a great match. They have history of giving you great matches, and it sells itself. So I think that's the way it's going to go. I think in some way Bayley is going to cost Sasha Banks, or Sasha Banks is going to cost Bayley the title, which Asuka is going to win, and then Bayley is going to help Asuka beat Sasha Banks, and then you have Asuka on SmackDown, and she can start a new program with somebody on that roster, and then on Raw you have Sasha Banks and Bayley going at it over the title, which would be great. It's a great program.
Now, we can't keep in the back of your mind that at Payback, Sasha and Bayley have to defend those tag titles.
Yeah.
The week after, regardless of what happens this Sunday.
Yeah, and that could lead to them losing those two because you create that rift. It'll be interesting. I think that those two work well together. I think they work their best when it's one-on-one programs. Not to take anything away from their tag title reign, but they look better when they're defending, their championships, their singles championships. And I think when you have both of them in one program going after one title, you're going to get what you saw in NXT, which is, some of the best matches in WWE history.
Let me tell you something. Sasha and Bayley have been doing the best work that I've seen them, both of them, doing their whole careers right now. Bayley owns her heel character that was given to her. She's almost kind of looked at as like the Karen of what's that show from Netflix? I saw the one episode. I saw the first episode. Tiger King.
Yes, Tiger King.
Bayley owns her heel character. She's done so well. Her integration with her interactions with Michael Cole every time she comes out are just awesome. I like how they go back and forth there. Bayley's done such a great job as the heel.
Yeah,
Sasha, she's been doing good. She's healthy. She's having a nice little run too as well. I think this is the best year for the both of them.
Yeah.
So it's going to remain to be seen, and I have a feeling something big could happen here. Now, let's switch gears. Retribution. Okay, so there were some photos that surfaced online. I actually posted in our group. I don't know if you saw. One of the people that were covered in the mask and the black outfit and the hood, to me personally, it looked like it could be Tessa Blanchard, and that could be revealed very soon. Is this something, again, going with the theme that you'll never see it coming? Could Retribution have that revealed character as Tessa Blanchard this weekend sometime?
I wouldn't see it coming. So yes, I mean, I think you're on the right track there. I think
just like her.
Yeah, no matter what, it's whoever it is, it's gonna be somebody who it has to be somebody who the fans aren't expecting. It has to be somebody who is either underused. I know a lot of people have thrown like Sami Zayn's name around there as one guy who's involved and stuff. It's got to be somebody who the fans aren't expecting, and I think that is, the person, especially with everything that, has gone around with her. I mean, Tessa Blanchard would be an interesting choice for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at this picture of her. The figure looks just like her. She's in good shape. And Tessa Blanchard, the height looked like it could have been her. The hair with the purple, it totally looked like Tessa Blanchard when I saw the picture of that revealed online. I have a feeling, and if it happens, listen, you guys have heard it here first on the Deep Six Pro Wrestling podcast, that Tessa Blanchard is going to show up this weekend. I'd be shocked if it's not her. I'd be shocked if her face doesn't appear on WWE TV by the end of this weekend for sure.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think at some point soon, we're going to have to see who it is, whether it's not this weekend. It needs to be soon because we see a lot of these, who done it kind of thing. The anonymous GM, who ran over Stone Cold. Yeah. The hacker. Yeah, it's a very recent one. Stories that just, die. Like they have so much going and people are actually invested in it, and then it's just they go away and no one knows what happened to them. And so I think if they debut or at least release who Retribution is, who's the leader, and at least start to continue to build up this story, and it's somebody like Tessa, which would bring a lot of eyes to the product for that reason.
Oh yeah.
They do a good job, but they need to make sure that they don't let this story just fail because of their own doings. They need to get to the point at some point quickly.
Like I wonder if one of them will be like a Tommaso Ciampa. We haven't seen him in a while. Where's he been? How about Sarah Logan?
Yeah,
her name has been dropped numerous times over the past couple of months. Maybe it could be a couple of WWE stars that were released and brought back, and now they want retribution.
Yeah,
no pun intended. So that remains to be seen. They've been causing chaos. It's been, listen, for everything that's going on in the wrestling world right now, I'm okay with the retribution storyline.
Yeah,
under normal circumstances, I probably would not like it. I don't know, but it's it's a little different. It's somewhat fresh. There's a lot of question marks behind it that kind of keep me somewhat interested. I want to see where it goes. But moving on, we have the Universal title, Braun Strowman versus The Fiend for the Universal Championship.
Yes.
I feel like we've seen somewhat of a little bit of a double turn. I feel like Braun Strowman, the way that they're going with it is that he's changed ever since, dealing with the Fiend changes him.
Yeah,
the Swamp that he's mentioned that he's changed, and he has taken on a character change, almost like a heel-like change.
Yeah.
The Fiend, on the other hand, I feel like it's kind of hard to really tell with facial expressions with him wearing a mask, but it seems to me that it looks like Braun Strowman's the heel in this feud, and then now you got the Alexa Bliss factor involved, which many believe she could be the Sister Abigail.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people thought.
With Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
Braun Strowman almost threw her out of the ring until Fiend came to her save.
Yeah.
What do you think?
When
and by the way, before you go, I say the Fiend takes the title off of Braun Strowman. It's about time that title comes off of him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that. But yeah, when we saw the Swamp match, we kind of saw that image, I guess, of Alexa Bliss kind of hinting at her being Sister Abigail, but also, hey, like we have a connection from Mixed Match Challenge, so come follow me. And obviously that led to, what happened in that match. But now it's like, I think that people were right that she is the Sister Abigail, because that's why the Fiend tried to protect her from, like you said, almost getting thrown out of the ring. I like Braun Strowman. I think he's done a good job. I think what he showed, he kind of turned heel here, like we mentioned, and he looked good. Like he needs to come back and be like this badass who can, dominate anybody. But I think, the biggest thing is he hasn't he hasn't beaten the Fiend yet. It was Bray Wyatt, and then it was in the Swamp match. And so now it's going to be a one-on-one Braun Strowman versus the Fiend, and I just don't see the Fiend losing.
I don't see it. So here's the problem: there's not many challengers for Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, he's basically heel now. At least that's
Yeah.
the perception that I'm seeing. He's basically heel now. So, that could open up a realm of new opponents, that are face to go against him to just kind of add more contenders to that.
Hmm.
Title picture. You could always throw like Daniel Bryan in there against him. You can put a couple guys against Braun, but I think you got to go to Fiend here. Fiend would get his win back. Fiend has only lost once in that character. That's a whole nother story against Bill Goldberg.
Yeah. Yeah.
The uproar that caused in the IWC for sure.
Yeah.
But the Fiend has been built strong here. I think the Fiend gets the win. I think the Fiend takes the title off of Braun Strowman here. And we very well get Sister Abigail. We could very well see Alexa Bliss turn on Braun Strowman at SummerSlam and join up with the Fiend.
Yeah, that'll be good. I mean, I don't think that the Fiend is going to lose the title if he does win anytime soon. And I think with the not having fans, I think it's really allowed his character to grow even more. The segments that he did with Cena and the segments that he's done with Braun and then the matches that he's had with those two have been really well received. I think it really allows him to expand the kind of like mythos of the character, the mysteriousness of the character, and it's allowing him to really dive into that creative mind that we know that he has. And so until fans come back, that is what we should be ready to see. It's just a lot more of this mysterious character. And now you're throwing in the Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss aspect if she is Sister Abigail, and that adds a whole new layer. So I think there is a good story here for the future for the Fiend to not lose if he were to win the title, to not lose for a very long time, which is what I think a lot of internet wrestling fans would enjoy, is to have him have a title run that he's for so long deserved that's actually going to last longer than 3 months.
But you know what? If Fiend wins, I could see him being fed to like a Roman Reigns or Drew McIntyre later on, assuming that Drew McIntyre would get drafted to SmackDown.
Do you think we'll ever see Fiend and Lesnar?
Well, one, we haven't even gotten the Bray Wyatt versus Lesnar. That I don't know. I don't think so. I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how they would work together.
Yeah. It would be an interesting watch, though, for sure.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. No doubt in my mind that the two of them would, work a great match.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how you get there.
Yeah. No, it's tough. Yeah.
Now, 2 more matches to go before we call the show and bring this plane in for landing. We have Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville in a hair versus hair match. So this is a little bit of a tough one to call. 2 very nice ladies. I've met them in person. I actually ran into the both of them. They are best friends in real life. I ran into both of them at Artichokes in Brooklyn following SummerSlam 2016 pay-per-view. They all hang out in that little Fifth Avenue section after events. I cannot imagine either one of them losing their hair. I don't know who wins this, who loses this.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Mandy Rose gets the win here. But, again, I'm having a lot of trouble picturing either Mandy or Sonya losing their hair and going bald, unless Sonya might be into that sort of thing with the shaved head. I don't know. I don't know how to call this. I think Mandy gets the win, and will be the one. But maybe there's some kind of swerve where neither one of them wins or loses, and maybe they continue.
And you'll never see it coming.
I'm not looking forward to seeing either one of these ladies bald. I think look perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And
it's just with, WWE doesn't normally do what's going on in the real world. They don't try to implement that too much into their stories. But with what happened to Sonya Deville, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but with
the stalker.
Yeah,
so
the
this
stalker.
is real life, folks.
Yeah, like the stalker at her house, and like that's just crazy. I mean, I just how scared she must have been to be in that position. So I guess
She may have not been scared. She's an MMA she's an amateur MMA fighter, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
She knows how to defend herself.
For sure.
She had to have been a little scared and thrown off guard, alarmed for sure.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, I think he's arrested and he's in jail. No bail or anything.
Yeah. I just think with that happening, we've seen them do that where, something happens in the real world. We got to make a quick change. So maybe she gets the win because of that. But that's me, stretching for it. I agree with you. I don't think either of them should lose their hair.
No.
But I guess I'd have to pick Mandy to get the win and, have Sonya cut her hair. And I would make her look like more of a badass, which is what she is a badass. So I guess I'd be okay with that. But I don't know. This match could have happened without a hair versus hair stipulation. They could have done a different stipulation for this match.
One of them two wants their edge shaved for sure. Probably. I don't know. I'm not looking forward to either one of them being bald though.
And
WWE billed this as the first time ever ladies hair versus hair match, and I am gonna have to instantly tell them that they're wrong because the first one was WrestleMania 20, Victoria versus Molly Holly. Victoria get the win and shave Molly Holly's head right on stage at WrestleMania 20.
That's a good one.
They were wrong about that, and I have to correct them on that. So I hope they're watching. Last but not least, Drew McIntyre defending the WWE title against Randy Orton. There's been so much speculation over the past couple months and rumors about quite possibly Randy Orton winning and then him defending the title down the line against Edge at either Rumble or WrestleMania, the story could write itself with Edge winning the title and having a whole comeback story. I've also heard numerous things about Drew McIntyre maybe winning the belt back against Randy at WrestleMania in front of a crowd, so he gets his moment. We've also heard that Drew McIntyre could also go to SmackDown and a possibility there winning that title if they go the Randy Orton Edge route.
Yeah.
A lot of different variables here. And again, getting back to the tagline of WWE Summerslam, you'll never see that coming. So now you have Ric Flair been involved in this build of a program. Now you had Shawn Michaels, who just got his head kicked on Monday by Randy Orton. So there's and basically Randy Orton's ran through all the legends. But I feel like there could be even swerve here. Maybe Lesnar comes back.
Yeah.
Cost Drew the match and setting up a Drew Lesnar match for Payback. There's a lot of different possibilities that can happen that I'm seeing that could very well go down. What do you think? I mean, I didn't want Drew McIntyre to lose the title here. I thought it would make more sense for him to lose the Survivor Series, give him a nice little 7-8 month run, and then win it back later on. Come WrestleMania time.
Yeah.
But it seems like Randy Orton is been built pretty well. He's had a great run, kicking legends' heads off. But again, Drew McIntyre has also been built very strong. He kicks out at 1. I can't remember when there's been a 2 count on him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, gathering all the information together, I mean, I want Drew to win here for sure. I have a feeling Randy's coming away with the belt. Your thoughts? And what are your thoughts on who could be involved or who shows up?
Yeah. I think I agree with you in the fact that I like to see McIntyre win, but I think Orton is going to win just from the future looking on. Orton can, they can have a match at Payback between those two. Excuse me. McIntyre and Orton can have a rematch at Payback. Or, I mean, having Lesnar, I think, is the smartest guy to come in and have that kind of feud. We never really got to see McIntyre and Lesnar get what they should have gotten in front of fans. And so I think that with the new Thunderdome, maybe it entices Brock Lesnar to come in and take that spot. And then we see them build. And then no matter what happens, the end of the day, we need to get Drew back into the main title picture come WrestleMania season, because he deserves to be there. It's not like this isn't a Jinder Mahal, kind of, he can win it. He'll be champion for a few months and then he'll go back down to mid-card. Like, Drew McIntyre earned his spot at the top for a reason, and he needs to stay up at the top for that same reason. And he's going to continue to show why he's at the top. And so I think, Lesnar is going to get involved in some way, and it's going to help Orton win the title. And then you'll have Orton. I don't know how they do Payback, because Payback is just such a quick turnaround. It's so hard to make matches for that with just a week. But yeah, I think Lesnar is going to get involved in some way. I think he's the best choice for somebody to get involved. And then, that'll set up something with McIntyre. And then McIntyre can slowly climb his way back to, let's hope that Royal Rumble, there's fans or something like that, and he can get his spot right there.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of possibilities. I feel like something's going to be happening. Listen, Ric Flair could it could turn out that Ric Flair was maybe never kicked after all because when the lights went out.
Yeah.
Maybe Ric Flair is the one that turns on Drew McIntyre, costs, and helps Randy to win. Shawn Michaels could be the one to turn to, but seeing what I saw on Raw, probably not.
Yeah.
Or maybe he can inadvertently cost Drew McIntyre to win. So it's a lot of possibilities here. I have a feeling we're in for a couple of swerves. I have a feeling a couple of things are going to happen, like we've already talked about. I feel like something's going to go down with Sasha. I feel like Tessa Blanchard's going to show up. I feel like there's going to be something screwy going on at the SummerSlam main event. But you know what? We got to end this show. It is getting late. We are an hour, 43 minutes in. It did not even feel like that.
No, it didn't.
Any means.
It really didn't.
A couple more days. SummerSlam weekend kicks off. Started with Friday at the Thunderdome. For those, Tommy, thank you so much for hopping on tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate being on.
Absolutely, man. Great job. For those of you that are watching or listening, if you like what you're viewing or listening to, first and foremost, make sure you give us a subscribe. Share with your friends. Listen, we gave you some good info going into this weekend. And let me tell you, if a lot of things that are going to happen like we told you to, well, listen, you heard it here first. We're also available on Apple iTunes Podcast, Google Play, and Spotify if you can't sit and watch everything all in one shot for your listening convenience. Anyway, that wraps up WrestleMania. Hello. It is late. That wraps up our Deep Six Pro Wrestling podcast. That wraps up episode 30, week 17. 30 episodes in the books is moving. In 17 weeks, our show's been going. It's going quick, but as far as post shows, for those of you that are listening and watching, as far as post shows to SummerSlam, we will keep you guys updated. You can follow us on Twitter right below in the screen. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook for the updates of when we'll do our next show. It'll be a lot to cover with AEW Dynamite this weekend. So make sure you subscribe, share with your friends, and be on the alert for all the updates coming up. But Tommy, once again, thank you so much for hopping on. And to all those of you that are watching and listening, thank you so much. And you guys have a great night.